Hi, you're watching International TV. I'm Mariam Namazi. I hope you've had a wonderful week and have been waiting to see our program. We have some interesting issues and topics and guests lined up for you this week. I'm going to be speaking with Babak Yazdi on the massacre of political prisoners in 1988. I'll then speak with Hamid Taqbai on Khatami's visit to the U.S. And then I'll speak with Sohaila Sharifi on a campaign to collect 1 million signatures against discriminatory laws against women in Iran. And finally, I'll be speaking with Mahmoud Ahmadi on Islam and human rights, whether they are compatible or not. Let's begin, though, with Babak Yazdi, who I have in the studio with me. Welcome, Babak.
Thank you, Maya.
You are the representative of an organization called Khavaran. And I suppose we're going to be speaking about this issue here today. Can you explain a little bit about what your organization does before we...
Actually, we started like 10 years ago in the name of the Organization for the Defense of Political Prisoners in Iran, and we work on it for 7 years. 3 years before, we changed the name to Khavaran, which is our organization and the paper. And Khavaran is one of the mass graveyard in Iran, and this is a symbol of that. And Khavaran is a place in Tehran that is the place that people were, like political prisoners, were buried there. Right. But it is just one of the mass graveyards, and that's why we call the name of our organization Khavaran.
Well, and this is something that's actually been commemorated on September 1st.
Right.
Let's start with an edict that Ayatollah Khomeini gave,
right.
A fatwa really, and in it he said, all those who have in prisons nationwide persisted and continue to persist in their position of heresy are considered belligerent and therefore sentenced to execution.
Right.
Why did he give this fatwa in 1988, in the summer of, was it the summer of 1988?
And yeah, the fatwa was 1988, but they were prepared, Khomeini himself and the regime, they were prepared at least 6 months ahead. And what they did, why they did, because I believe those people were real against regime, and in the next movement and next revolution, they could mobilize the people. And that was one of the reasons. Another reason was the war between Iran and Iraq, and it was also like Khomeini had to accept the resolution, I believe it was 598 of the, it was about the Iran and Iraq war, and he had to accept it. So there were two main reasons. What they did from 1987, late 1987, what they did, they separated the convicted prisoners of 10 years and 15 years. They separated also Mujahideen with the communist people. So far they were living in the same block, so they separated them. They separated the one which were convicted like to life sentence.
Mm-hmm. These are all political prisoners.
They're all political prisoners. What they did, they changed a lot of cells and blocks, and they changed the place of the prisoners consequently, so they couldn't even contact each other by Morse. Then on the 1988, on the exact day, if I can convert it from like our calendar to English, it was, I believe, on August 27, I believe, August 27, 1988. They called up Mujahideen, like the member of them, and said, okay, what have you been convinced to, or what, like...
What do you believe in?
Yeah. And if they say Mujahideen, just by one name, they would send them to the death sentence by hanging them. And they hanged them because they didn't want the people hear what's happening, so they can kill more and more. If they kill them by shooting, so they could hear.
Other prisoners would hear.
Yeah. So they hanged them. And they just let them be there for like 10 to 15 minutes. Even some of them, they did not really die. And then the next one. So this is what have been convicted to. And if they say Mujahideen, if they say Munafiqeen, which the regime was like that name, then they said, okay, are you ready to shoot a Munafiq? If they say no, still they send them to execution. If they say, okay, we are, then say, okay, are you ready to go to clean up a landmine because they were having fight with Iraq? And so, if they say no, still, like within less than a month, they killed over 4,000 mujahid. And then on the next month, which was like around 22nd of August, I believe, they started killing the leftists and communists.
So first it was July and then August.
Right.
Okay.
So less than a month, they got almost rid of whatever mujahideen that were resisting them. The communist people, they call them, okay, what were you convicted to, and if they, or do you believe in God? If they no, execution. And they would just point to the left. If they say, yes, we believe in God, are you Muslim? If they say no, still execution. If they say we are Muslim and we believe in God, say, are you praying? If they say no, then they would lash them 10 lashes per each time of praying. So 50 lashes per day they would convict, because they are Muslim, they believe in God, but they are not praying 5 times a day. And one thing I have to mention here is that in Islam, a woman which is not Muslim, they cannot convince him to death. So what they did is, the rule in Islam is, a woman who is not Muslim, either they have to repent or lash to die. And unfortunately,
you mean lash them until they
die or repent. There is no other way. So unfortunately, lots of women, communist women or leftist women, they die under the by torturing by lashes.
So I mean, this is such an outrage. A lot of people may not have heard about this, people who are watching this TV program, because there seems to be a silence in the media on this. Why is that? Why do people not know about this massacre?
The few different reasons, I believe. One, the Western government, I believe, they are supporting because of their economic and political relation with Islamic regime. That's one reason. Another reason is it's not their interest. Because most of the government in West, they have a good relationship with Iran, and I believe that's one of the most reasons.
So how many people got killed during that time?
Just in summer 1988, over 5,000. Just less than 2 months, they killed over 5,000. But the whole regime, is over 100,000 people they got killed during this regime. But just in less than 2 months, over 5,000.
Now, on September 1st, there's a commemoration in Khavaran, which you say is a mass grave, where some political prisoners have been buried there. Why is Khavaran so famous and commemorated in this way?
As I told you, this is a symbol of the mass graveyard, and most of the socialist freedom fighters, they were buried there. And last year, over 2,000 people, they were there, even though Ahmadinejad just came to the power, and he wanted to bring Iran back to even worse than Taliban, I believe, and he couldn't. So the difference between now and then is on 1961 and 2, what they did, they would kill every day 100, 200 people, and they announced it in their TV and radio and paper. But right now, it's totally different. Now, it's our time. Now people are not scared of regime, and as you know, one of the pictures you are seeing here is Nasser Zarafshan. He was just out of prison for medical treatment, and he went there and he spoke. He is one of the ones who spoke right there. And this year also, lots of people, they were there, even though they confiscated the camera and the film, but still, we can see that they went there. They sound the revolutionary sound, they sound the international sound last year and this year too, and I believe this should go on and go on until all the political prisoners are free.
I mean, and that's one of the
The major slogan is there, no torture anymore, no political prisoner anymore, and no execution anymore, and that's what we are based on too.
This was obviously not the first or the last massacre of political prisoners in Iran.
Oh no, as I told you, in 1961 and 2, 1981 and 2, sorry, they killed over 10,000 people. But this was one, like the last mass execution, I believe, in 1988. But no, that was not the only one.
Okay, thank you very much, Babak.
Thank you for having me.